The video to help with the CF Racer rear wheel removal and cadence sensor adjustment. What you're going to need are two tools, a 3mm hex key right here, and a 15mm wrench. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the bike upside down. So we're going to start by giving ourselves some slack on the motor cable, which is going to be on this side of the bike. We're going to remove this rubber grommet right here, and we're going to pull out our motor cable. And you'll see a connection point right here. If you have an older CF Racer without this quick disconnect right here, you're going to remove enough motor cable to just pull the wheel up. Next thing we got to do is use our 15mm wrench to loosen our axle nuts. And on the other side, remember what order all these small parts are placed at when you remove the wheel so that you can put them in the same place when you put it back together. Before you lift the wheel out, remember to remove the axle nut and spacer and cadence sensor. Okay, so we've loosened the axle nuts and we've removed the cadence sensor. Now we're almost ready to remove the wheel. We're going to bring this swing arm forward to loosen the chain, and that will allow us to bring this backwards, and then we just lift the wheel outwards. For versions of the CF Racer without the quick disconnect to the motor cable, you're just going to give yourself enough slack to pull it up and around like this. Okay, now we're ready to put the back wheel back onto the bike. Swing it around. We're going to carefully lift the chain over the top on this side. We're going to move this backwards, and we're going to make sure that the chain is on the smallest cog as we bring it downwards, and that we're going to make sure the disc rotor is in between the two pads to make sure that things are centered as we drop it in. Now, before we fully tighten this side, we're going to replace everything as it was on this side. This bike had these two spacers on it first. And you have to make sure that the gap is on the underside. And then we're going to put the cadence sensor next. We're going to push our finger so that the cadence sensor stays tucked into this corner right here. Next, I'm going to put this washer and then the axle nut last in the order that we removed them. So I've got it finger tight right now on both sides of the bike. And then I'm going to grab my 15mm wrench. I'm going to use my index finger to hold the cadence sensor against this side while I tighten the axle the other direction. I can put the chain back into the original position. I'll give it a pedal just to make sure. We're going to hand tight on this side, hand tight on the other side. We're ready to reattach the motor cable and tuck it back in place and put the rubber grommet back on. As we're finalizing the installation, we need to make sure that the cadence sensor is getting a proper reading. In order to do that, it needs to clearly see the top gear. The magnet of the cadence sensor needs to be 1 to 2 millimeters away from the smallest cog on the cassette, and the chain needs to be properly out of the way. If the chain is blocking the cadence sensor, we need to use a 3 millimeter hex key to adjust the chain tension screw. We're going to rotate it clockwise to increase the chain tension and pull it away from the magnet. Test the bike again after adjusting the chain tension screw to make sure that the cadence sensor is getting a proper reading. Then you're all set to go.